Welcome to adilas. This is a brief tutorial on viewing the income statement, and from the main switchboard homepage, if you come under System Reports and go down to your income statement, once this page pulls, you do have a few links here at the top that are additional. You can go to the advanced search on the income statement, which basically gives you the same options here plus more in depth, and I will have a tutorial on the advanced. You also have your daily weekly sales report, which I do have a tutorial on that, as well as a couple other links up here that you would have depending on which pages that you want to browse to. When you pull the income statement, it will automatically default to this year's data. So if I wanted to say what data we had for last year, I could pull up the year for last year. You can select locations, so you can select or deselect your locations, and then the invoice date switch usually is defaulted to the invoice date because that's when the sale was actually made. The other views here for verified date, this has to do with the bank when the funds cleared the bank. This is just strictly a different view for you to look at. So what we did was we kind of added some enhancement into the income statement so you could kind of start looking at maybe even like a cash flow scenario. So if you go down into here, it starts to get into more of a cash flow. And the same thing with the verified date on here when the money went out of the bank. So both of these have to do with money flowing out of the bank. The default is always invoice date and receipt date, so you can leave those as such. If you don't want to see the extra line items, you can leave that on there, leave that as hidden. That's why it's defaulted. If you do want to see an estimation, this is just estimating taxes that would be due to the federal government based off of what your net is and an average of 30% taxable, and so what it gives you is 45% of the net, which is your depreciation and your taxes. So just another view there. And then your report type at the bottom, and this is the most important thing. If I leave it on a quick view only and I get my numbers, you'll see that it's going to pull up just a little quick snapshot of what happened this year: revenue, cost of goods, gross profit, expenses, and net profit. And by the way, this is the formula for an income statement. Revenue minus cost of goods equals gross profit minus expenses equals net profit. So that's the basic formula for an income statement. If I go back and I go to a small group, you'll see that it's going to start widening out the information, and it's also going to give me additional drill downs. So once again, I have my little view up here at the top that I had before, but then additionally I also have where it's starting to tell me what is comprised of that. So here's our 28,000 or 28 million, and here's our 28 million here in aircraft. So if you click on this, this is going to take you to a link to which aircraft were sold. It's got the invoice over here, stock number, and you can drill to unit details or sold information or the invoice over here as well. It also is showing down below here whom the buyer, if there was buyers, it's going to show who has more than one invoice down here. So you're starting to get a history down here of any client that you've sold to that has more than one invoice. If I go back to that page, you also see the cost of goods down below for each of the categories, and you also see if there were any expenses or anything during that time frame. If I go back one more and I select, I'm just going to jump down to the fully expanded just to show you. And when you're in fully expanded, now it's breaking it down. It's giving you your aircraft by category, by vendor. Same with your aircraft parts. These are your categories. So this is a parts category, and there's a tutorial on how to add and edit parts categories. You name these categories, and this is how they pull up, and they show which categories your sales you want your sales to fall in. On this example here, we don't have any expenses down at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to see if I can grab this year's data and see if somebody's put in some expenses in this year. If not, maybe I can go back, and we do have some expenses on this year, so I'll go down to the bottom here and kind of show you how the expenses will pull in. Underneath your gross profit, so the gross profit is still here. It's also showing you a percentage of what your gross profit percentage is. Underneath that, it shows what expenses are. So here we have some wages. We have a default category that's called not sure. So if we click on that, maybe some of these are different. Looks like some of this is pay period. Like this one here is gas. So I could actually edit this one, and I can change it down here to be gas if I had that category, which I think the reason that it's in there under that category is because gas doesn't exist. So there would be a link to go and add and edit the type for that. And that's how you can drill down into, off of your income statement, you can drill down into these categories to change things around. And I was trying to show you one that would maybe even have an image file. So here's Capital One, Walmart. Both of those don't have an image file, but if they have image files, you would see the image files show up on those as well. So once again, this has been a brief tutorial on how to get to the income statement, and what you do is from the main switchboard homepage, you come under System Reports, come down to Income Statement, and once you're on the income statement page, it automatically defaults for this year. Usually all you would have to do is click on show whatever amount of values you would want, and then you would have your look at your income statement. At the bottom of this income statement is also where you can save it as a PDF document, and this way you can send it to your accountant, or actually file this if you want to print it out periodically and file it. You can do that as well. So once again, that's been a tutorial on how to create an income statement, and I want to thank you for choosing adilas.